everyone, it's Tanya from Royal City Nursery, and today we are going to chat citrus. Citrus is amazing, and yes, you can have edible citrus at your house. Now it takes a little bit of oomph, takes a little bit of time, but today we're going to go through how to actually do that. The first thing is we'll answer some of the big questions on how do we actually care for our citrus, and more importantly, how do we actually get our citrus to produce a fruit? You've just taken your citrus home. One of the things you need to keep in mind. So right now, I have just taken the citrus and dropped it in to a ceramic pot. Citrus like to have very deep roots. So when you're choosing your pots, you want to go deeper than wide. We also want to choose a pot that's a little bit heavy, because over time, as the citrus gets bigger and bigger, we're going to end up with a little bit more weight at the bottom, which is good. And a ceramic pot or a heavy pot with even a plastic pot with gravel or something in it will help keep your plant from tipping over. Now you can get citrus either in shrub form, which is what we're seeing here on the table. Citrus available in tree form as well. So either one depends on your space. Do not transplant your citrus out of the pot it comes in. So we're going to keep it in its plastic pot for 1 to 2 years. That's why we're using a drop-in. Citrus don't like the roots to be touched. Think kind of teenager-like, right? So every once in a while they get a little bit sulky, and yeah, that is what they do. So all you're going to do again is keep your citrus in the plastic pot it comes in and throw the plastic pot into something else that's a little bit pretty. In order to get fruit, you need birds and bees, and inside, really hard to get birds and bees. So take advantage of a paintbrush. And if we can get a zoom in up here, we're going to take, when they're in full flower, we're going to take the paintbrush and just dip it in and around the stamens. And then I'm going to go to the next flower. Take and literally paint to paint to paint to paint. And I want to do that through the entire shrub. This paintbrush takes the place of the bees, which gets pollen to each of the flowers. So now we're cross-pollinating. If we can cross-pollinate our very sweetly fragrant flowers, then we'll get fruit down the line. In terms of insects, citrus really don't get a whole lot of insects. One of the most common things we see right now in winter months is a fungus gnat. A fungus gnat are those little itty-bitty dudes that kind of flit all over the place. Biggest reason we see them is because of our watering practices. Citrus, like most tropical plants, like to be well watered, but you need drainage. So again, that's why we're keeping it in the plastic pot and putting it into a ceramic, no problem. But you only want to water when it's dry. So you're going to shove your finger in to at least the first knuckle. And right now, so my finger is down about there, and it's damp enough that I don't need to water this for the next day or so. The one thing I do want to do in the winter time is use a product like these. So this is called a sticky strip, and these guys are not an insecticide, but rather they are a strip that you super sticky thing you put on a peg and you put it in the pot. So all it gives you is a collection system, so you know what insects you do and don't have. With your fungus gnats, if you see them, then reduce the watering, because fungus gnats live in the top ½ inch of soil, and if that is always kept moist, then you're going to find it's not doing that well. So we change your watering practices. Water super thoroughly, and water when they're starting to feel dry. A little bit further down the pot, you'll get rid of the fungus gnats. When we talk about fertilizing, citrus love acid. So kind of like your blueberries and hydrangeas. At this time of year, so we're January, February, March, you do not fertilize. You want to fertilize them every second watering from March through to October, so active growing season. And you're going to do 2 things. Well, actually, you're going to do 1. So we're going to use a product called Rage Plus. Rage Plus is a really good fertilizer that focuses on some of the micronutrients, and it also has some iron in it. So that's going to increase the overall iron content, which actually helps to distribute some of the other nutrients in the plants a little bit better. The other thing that Rage Plus works really well for are things like tomatoes and peppers. So it's a good one to have in your arsenal for regular use. Again, in high season, in growing season, March to October, you're going to fertilize these once every 2 weeks.